Welcome to our students and staff and our honored guests this morning. It is my privilege to welcome you to DeKalb High School for our 2024 Veterans Day convocation. Veterans Day has its roots on a significant event in world history, Armistice Day, which marked the end of World War I on November the 11th, year 1918. After 4 years of devastating conflict, world leaders agreed to a ceasefire on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. A moment that brought peace to millions. In 1954, after World War II and the Korean War, the U.S. Congress officially changed Armistice Day to Veterans Day to honor all American veterans, both living and deceased, who have served in any war or conflict. This day reminds us that freedom comes at a cost, sometimes a heavy one. It's important that we don't only remember the heroic stories of battles, but also the quiet sacrifices made by those who came home. The families who supported them, and the countless ways veterans contribute to our communities long after their military service ends. A portion of the 2024 Proclamation on Veterans Day, released this week by the White House, reads as follows. Today, we honor generations of America's veterans, patriots who stood out on the front lines of freedom and kept the light of liberty shining bright around our world. Our veterans make up the steel spine of our nation. Just as they have kept the ultimate faith in our nation, we must keep the ultimate faith in them. Each one of our nation's veterans is a link in a chain of honor that stretches back to our founding days. Throughout history, whenever and wherever the forces of darkness have sought to extinguish the flames of freedom, America's veterans have been fighting to keep it burning bright. We owe them a debt of gratitude we can never fully repay, not just for fighting for our democracy, but for giving back to our communities and inspiring the next generation to serve, even after hanging up their uniforms. June the 6th, 2024, marked the 80th anniversary of D-Day on the beaches of Normandy. We learned then what we still know now. Democracy is never guaranteed. Every generation must preserve it, defend it, and fight for it. Today, we honor all of our veterans who have preserved, defended, and fought for our democracy. They prove that we are a nation that can meet darkness with light again and again, no matter how high the cost or how heavy the burden. May we all strive to be worthy of their sacrifices for us, doing our part to keep the light of liberty burning bright for generations to come. Throughout this morning's program, we will hear about the different branches of the military, experiences, including graduates of DeKalb High School, and the lasting impact of their service. We are grateful for those, both in our local community and beyond, who have sacrificed so much for the freedoms that we all enjoy each and every day. Today, we take a moment to reflect on their service and to express our gratitude for their unwavering commitment to our country. As we will say multiple times throughout the morning and this program, thank you. Students, staff, faculty, and guests, at this time, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Student Body President Joey Della. Please remain standing afterward for the National Anthem, led by our advanced choir students.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whose
You may be seated. This morning, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Nick Haberly. Nick Haberly is a 2012 DeKalb High School graduate. In 2016, Nick graduated from Indiana University and was commissioned as an active duty second lieutenant in the U.S. Army. For the last 8 years, Nick has served as an aviation officer and attack helicopter pilot. He held numerous leadership, staff, and command positions at various levels within the 3rd Infantry Division in the 10th Mountain Division. Nick commanded Charlie Troop, 6th Squadron, 6th Cavalry Regiment from 2021 to 2023. During his command, the unit was successful in multiple large-scale training exercises and hand-selected for high-profile operations and deployments. He most recently served as the Brigade Aviation Officer for the 2nd Infantry Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division, during a 9-month deployment to Iraq. His unit returned in the spring of 2024 after sustaining over 170 drone, rocket, and ballistic missile attacks. The unit is currently the U.S. military's most experienced and combat-proven counter-drone unit. Nick has 2 9-month deployments to Europe and the Middle East, and he currently serves as a captain in the U.S. Army Reserves. Nick holds a bachelor's degree in political science from Indiana University and is a graduate of Arizona State's University Critical Language Institute. He is a graduate of the U.S. Army Flight School, an FFA commercially rated pilot, and a qualified aviator in the AH-64D Apache Longbow helicopter. His awards include Bronze Star Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medals, Combat Action Badge, Army Aviator Badge, and the German Armed Forces Proficiency Badge. He is a distinguished military graduate and a recipient of the George C. Marshall Leadership Award and Indiana University President's Award. Nick currently lives in Washington, D.C., and is a full-time graduate student at Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies, where he is pursuing a master's degree in strategy, cybersecurity, and intelligence. Nick is passionate about encouraging people to pursue leadership and public service opportunities. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Nick Haberly.
All right, students, faculty, Principal Wagner, Assistant Principal Gill, Assistant Principal Bigelow, veterans, and guests. Thank you for inviting me today. It is an honor and privilege to stand in front of you today and represent not only the veterans sitting behind me, but also the millions of veterans who served in the armed forces throughout our nation's history. Our nation's sons and daughters are this country's greatest treasure. It is an absolute thrill for me to speak to all of you today as we honor their numerous sacrifices. As I was contemplating what to say today, I didn't want to focus on myself. However, I do think that telling a story is important in delivering a message. And hopefully the few personal examples I get from my time in the military will help give some insight and important lessons to better not only your life, but the lives of those others around you. Veterans Day is a chance for all of us to take a moment and remember those in our society who served in our armed forces in the profession of arms. Today, there are 19.1 million veterans living in the United States, representing about 5.7% of the population. These individuals represent the very best this country can offer, and we owe them our enduring gratitude. After officially ending over 20 years of war, we have a veteran community in this country that is more diverse than ever before. It is with your help and this community's help that we can integrate our veterans back into civilian life, ensuring they know they are supported, respected, and appreciated. I believe it is critical, especially in this republic, that all citizens recognize the impact and sacrifices of veterans and their families. In doing so, we not only honor these men and women, but also build a framework for important conversations that create understanding and respect between our veterans and their communities. Our nation's military exists to protect the United States and its interests at home and abroad. The Department of Defense has a mission to provide military forces to deter and win wars and to protect the security of the United States and its allies. At the end of the day, that means that our service members ensure our inherent rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Every veteran sitting behind me has different experiences that shape what service means to them. When I think of what service truly means, I think of the sacrifice of military families. Their sacrifices in many ways far exceed those of the service member. It is our military families that endure the brunt of military service, and they are always on my mind when I think of what it means to be a veteran. While service members are away training or on deployments, families are the ones who keep the show running at home. Constant moves all over the world, deployments, training events, missed birthdays, missed holidays, missed concerts, missed first words, and even missed births. When I was deployed to Europe, my best friend Cameron served as our task force logistics officer. A tough and thankless job. Every day was fraught with challenges that he had to solve, but he always had a great attitude. And just before we left for deployment, Cameron and his wife found out that they were having a baby, which would be due a few months into our 9-month deployment. We tried to get Cameron back to the States for the birth of his child, but there simply wasn't enough time. Cameron watched the birth of his first child on FaceTime, alone, on the step of a rundown building, thousands of miles away from his family. As a young officer, I watched this unfold and I couldn't help feeling the weight of what service truly means. Cameron could have been bitter, could have been angry, but instead he conducted himself with a sense of stoicism and humility. He knew when he raised his right hand in service to his country, he would be called to serve and sacrifice, and this was just one of those times. However, service in the military is not a lonely endeavor. You serve on the greatest team this planet has ever seen, and your teammates, your brothers and sisters, always have your back. Those who have been in harm's way will tell you that the only thing that matters are the people to your left and right, and in many ways, that is a gift. And I bet that if you ask any veteran sitting behind me, they will tell you that the thing they miss the most from the military is the bond and relationship with the people to your left and right. When you enter the military, your service member must take an oath. This oath is the backbone of our military service. The first and arguably most important sentence of the oath states this: I do solemnly swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. As service members, we do not swear an oath to support a branch of government, a head of state, or a monarch. This is an important distinction between us and other armed forces around the world. We take an oath to support and defend a nation that ensures all of us have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When I was a freshman at Indiana University, I had to attend our military field training periods, which occurred once a week. This 2-hour block was an opportunity for cadets to practice tactical field training in an area we reserved just off campus. Before I had a car, I would either walk or take my bike to the field training area, about a 20-minute bike ride. It was the beginning of fall semester and I had no idea what I was doing. It was probably the second time I had ever worn a uniform, and I was just doing my best to keep a low profile in case some veteran or upperclassman saw me and pointed out everything wrong with my uniform, which was almost certainly not put together by regulation. As I crossed the street right next to our facility, I noticed some flashing lights over the hill heading towards me. As they got closer, I noticed it was a funeral procession, a long line of cars as far as you could see coming over the hill. As the hearse got closer, I started to make out the flags flying at the front of the car. And as it passed, I noticed a U.S. Army seal on the door. Not knowing what to do, I decided to stand in attention as they came by, and I remained standing in attention until the very last car. As the car slowed down to make a right-hand turn on the corner right in front of me, I started noticing the faces of people in the cars. Some people took pictures, some rolled down the window and waved, and some just looked at me as they drove by. But one car that was closer to the hearse slowed down more than the others. Its back window rolled down. A woman in the back was clutching a tissue against her face, crying. She looked at me as she went by, as if in slow motion, dropped her hand away from her face, and motioned with her lips, "Thank you." I learned a couple things that day. One, little acts of respect and kindness can change the world for people you may never meet and never see. It doesn't take a lot. Two, when I took my oath of office on May 6, 2016, I remembered that woman. I remembered that the oath that every veteran behind me has taken is an oath that entails some kind of sacrifice. With that said, it is important that we take a moment today to recognize the ongoing sacrifice our service members endure. We have U.S. forces overseas right now, protecting our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Every hour of every day, there are service members, some of whom not much older than you, who are risking their lives so that we can be here today. There are people in the world that would do anything to harm you in this way of life, not because you are a man or a woman, not because you are white or Hispanic, not because you are a Democrat or Republican, but for the sole reason that you are an American. Our veterans answered the call, raised their right hand, and swore to protect all of us against those people. I say without hesitation, and I say this to instill confidence in all of you, that we have the best military in the world. Thanks in full to the unbelievable people who serve or have served in it. And if you want to honor our veterans today, I challenge you to do two things. In doing these two things, you can, in a sense, uphold your end of the deal by being a good citizen, taking full advantage of what veterans throughout our country's history have served for. Number one, do an act of service every day. For either your class, your family, your community, or your job, do something selfless to better somebody or something else. Nobody can do this thing we call life alone. Every single one of us has needed somebody at some point, and we must in return be that person for somebody else. Veterans have served their country for you to have an opportunity to better the world, so do it. Number two, get involved and be a good citizen. Your generation and my generation must be responsible for our communities and our country. Whether that means volunteering at the local fundraiser, helping clean up the 4-H grounds after the county fair, or serving in the military. Be an involved citizen. The veterans in this room serve their country so that all of us can have an opportunity to make our community better, so do it. John F. Kennedy stated, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. So I challenge all of you today to not only think about our veterans, but to honor and thank them with your actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. At this time, we will recognize and introduce those members of the armed services community in attendance with us this morning. Please hold your applause until all veterans have introduced themselves, including DeKalb High School students who will be enlisting in the near future. They will state their branch of military and time that they served, as well as any information they would like to provide.
Granville Joseph, United States Marine Corps, 1969 to 1971.
Ralph Neal, United States Army, 1967 to 1970.
Patrick Hittner, Marine Corps, 2014 to 21.
David Blakey, U.S. Air Force, 70 to 73.
Ronald Rathburn, 1969 to 1971, Vietnam.
Will Teague, United States Army, 82nd Airborne Division, 1988 to 2000.
Tyler Fletcher, United States Army, 2018, and I'm still serving.
Preston Hale, U.S. Army, 2005-2009.
Leonard Ginger, U.S. Navy, 78 to 82.
Hi, y'all. Brian Ayers, retired sergeant, 1984, 2025, multiple deployments. Thank you for being here.
Charlotte Edwards, U.S. Army, 1993 to 1995.
Mike Snyder, U.S. Army, 1976 to 1983.
Russ Goodman, U.S. Army, 1988 to 1995.
Jessica Spiker, United States Air Force, 2013 to currently still serving.
Master Sergeant Zeman, United States Marine Corps, 1970, 1991.
Gary Butler, U.S. Army, 25th Infantry, Combat Medic, 66-67.
Lyle Diane, U.S. Army, 53 to 55.
Ron Blanchard, United States Air Force, 1976 through 2007, and 1,200 hours in the backseat of a F-4 Phantom II.
Sherry Slother, U.S. Air Force, 2013 to 2021.
Howard Mossing, U.S. Army, 1970 to 1976.
Phil T, 1967, retired from the Army. Juan Hughes, 98.
Dave Hauser, U.S. Army, 1966 to 1972.
Josh Neubauer, United States Navy, 1995 to 1998.
Tani Cowman, United States Air Force, Aerospace Medical Service.
Cohen Malicki, U.S. Army, currently serving.
Blue Barnett, U.S. Army, Airborne Infantry.
Nikolai Lopez, Infantry.
Stephen Ross, Infantry. Lyndon Orsi, United States Air Force, Radar Airfield Weather Specialist.
Michael Rigsby, Air Force.
Please give a round of applause to her. At this time, our choir, directed by Mr. Josh Doublestein, will sing the Armed Forces Medley. Military, please stand when you hear your service song being played. Students, you are invited to stand when your family's service song is played.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, soon to meet our brother. Now, give us a gun. Down
DeKalb High School continues to collect names and service information of DHS graduates who are serving who have served in any branch of the U.S. military. Data is being compiled, including Auburn High School and Waterloo High School prior to the opening of DeKalb High School. We want to acknowledge the dedication and sacrifices to our country. A poster with the names of honor is on display in the case outside of the DeKalb High School main office. If you know of someone who should be included, please have them contact Ms. Days in the Media Center or leave their contact information with our main office. Only names that have been submitted by family are visible on the program. While Veterans Day is primarily a tribute to America's living veterans and should be observed more as a celebration than a somber remembrance, it is always appropriate to include a moment of respect for those who have given their lives for their country. At this time, please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the playing of taps by DeKalb High School student Avery Fleming and DeKalb High School teacher Tony Miller. Thank you for your attendance and joining us this morning. Please join me one last time in thanking those with us today who have done so much in service of our great nation. Students and staff, at this time you are encouraged to meet, shake hands, and thank our veterans before heading back to SST this morning. Thank you, everyone.